Hey guys, how's it going? Go See Rich here today, and today we're going to be having some fun switching the head gasket on this 2016 Dodge Ram 5.7 liter Hemi. So to do so, you'll notice that you'll have this clip right here. Squeeze, press out. Might need a flat blade here. Nope, see, all I did is pull back the red, hold this, wiggle, and pull off the throttle body. We will free these up later. For right now, what I want you to do is take off. If you look at this clamp right here, or it's a worm gear clamp, you're gonna loosen this. I believe it's gonna be probably an 8mm. Loosen it so that way this tube is free. Put a flashlight on my head so you can see it. It's this 8mm. What you'll do is you'll grab and twist. It will be stuck on there from heat, and just lift it up like that. From here, go ahead, pop all the clips on here, making sure we get them all. These ones are already off. One there. All right. And then we might have to twist this one too. See how I had to push that? Now you have to take this off. Leave this breather over there. Take care of that afterwards. But lift this up and out of the way. If this works like I hope it does, just lift like this. And as you can see, then that should free up this part. Lift this up and out of the way too. And look at all the room in there. From here, lift straight up on the engine cover. Get it out of the way as well. This breather you can leave on if you want. I'll leave it up to you. Personally, I say lift and pull it out of the way. This hose right here is going to be a hard plastic hose. We should be able to pop it out of the way. We'll see if usually, let's see, there's two, see how my fingers are curled around like this? There we go. There's two little barbs on the back end. You pinch them and then squeeze up. This releases like so, and then off the barb it comes. You can go to the brake booster side. You'll see this goes just under the brake booster. Do the same thing with that clip and pull this hose out of the way. You'll see that these are just lightly on these hoses like that. You just need to loosen and move that because this can stay on here. This doesn't matter. We'll disconnect the connector afterwards. That's not a big deal. But what we want to be able to do is make it so the solenoid, which is going to here, you don't need to take this one off, is going to stay put. And the accessories we don't need are not. As we can see, this one goes up to the brake booster sensor and to here. So this one, again, this is just going to be stuck on there real tight. But you just got to pull up on this one and give it a wiggle. You can, of course, take it off on the brake booster side, but I usually like to take it off on this side. From there, the other thing that you're going to need to make sure you have before you get started is a fuel release piece, which is going to go over here. I'm going to see if this one seems to have a quick disconnect. I've had these before where they don't have the quick disconnect. I'm going to see if I can actually remove this without the fuel release tool. If we can, that's going to be quite awesome. The other thing we can do is, see how we click these coils up? There's going to be four, there'll be one back there. Squeeze them and disconnect them. These, once again, if they've been sitting for a while, can be fun. So you might have to press in here and take a big flat blade, hence big. You do not want to use a small one and crack it, and then slowly lift up lightly after while you're compressing, and it should help if there's any dirt or gunk in there. And that's what you want to do to all four of these. Compress and lift. These ones, same thing. You kind of have to come up with them, and they're fun. For these, we're going to make this easier on ourselves. This one should just pull out, but we'll use a Christmas tree popper later. This, slip off over here. This one is another duct tab where you'll have to squeeze, and you'll hear that nice audible click, pop out. And see how it's once again locked in down here by another one. Again, pull back on the red. I'm sure you can see that. Compress and release. I'll get that one in a sec. But then you have this duct tab up here. Compress. And let's see. Again, when they sit for a while, they get stuck. So I'll have to give this one some love, and squeeze out. What we're doing is slowly going to peel this harness back to here, so that way it's not in our way. Again, when we get to here, see how it's just on top of this ground bolt? I'll show you. I have a Christmas tree popping tool. You should get one. They're like maybe 10 bucks, and you'll be able to pop all of these and not mangle them. I'm just gonna go in here, pop this one out. Again, it looks like this. All you're doing is putting it between the metal and there, and then slowly working the Christmas tree barbs out. And again, we're just gonna continuously work out this harness until it's free. You could probably leave the harness in, but again, I think it's always easier to peel this stuff back. That way you're not fighting it. I told you to leave this guy, but it's actually easier just to pop that off and then slip towards you. Might as well just take it right out of the way. We've gone ahead and pulled so many of these hoses. If you want to, you can take this one off too, if it's not completely stuck. This one is just, you don't technically need to take this one off. This one is just more, if you can get it off, take it off. If it's too hard and you're worried about breaking this hose, leave it on, because we're going to be taking this entire piece off with the intake manifold. Same with the injector system. We're actually just going to be, like I said, pulling that fuel piece over there, and then the injectors and the rails stay in. We're just going to have to pull the bolts and lift the throttle body off with the injectors. If we look right here, it looks like we've got the diff breather. We're going to come up here and we're going to try and take this off with our panel popper again. Or I should say my Christmas tree popper. If not, we can push it from the other side, or let's see from this angle. It's always, there we go. Okay, now that we've made that free, go ahead if you want. You can either put it on the floor or wrap it around the brake booster, whatever you want to do. For right now, let's take a look right over here. I'm trying to see how I can do this. I'll get you a good camera angle. You have to get in here, and you'll notice that when you pinch this, it flicks upward, the inside, just like that. See? It squeezes, lifts, and then just like those other red clips, you kind of have to squeeze them and then squeeze them down. It's now released. We should be able to pull the fuel back. Keep in mind, if you primed the fuel system recently and the engine didn't start, this could be backed up and it would, of course, shoot quite a bit of fuel. So just be mindful of that. I have it aiming up over there. If you wanted to, you can tape up the tip, do whatever you want if you're worried about fuel pouring out, because it will dribble now and then after it pops off. After you've popped that one off, one thing we can do is, just because we know we have stuff beneath this and we don't want this in the way, go ahead and pop your oil off. That should not have been that hard. Jeez. Take that off. Put this back on for right now. And then now we'll be able to reach these other injector wires along the harness. You can also take a look in here, because you might even see evidence of rats, if you've got rats or anything like that, because they love to take materials and shove it in this area. If you're looking back here, unplug this guy as well, and we'll see if this guy is just a pigtail or a ground. No, one more back there. We will get that in 1 second. We might have to pull the intake manifold forward to get that one. Next thing we're going to do, just to give ourselves some more room in here, is loosen off your 10 on here, and we're just going to wiggle our posi or our naggy, which again, right here, just loosen and just wiggle until it's off. We'll push this off to the side. This one will try to come back, so the fun. Anyways, we'll leave that over there. Next, get this one off. After that, if yours still has the hold down, there should be a bolt right here. You're going to want to loosen that so that way we can pull this battery up and out of the way. Getting it up and out of the way, like I said, just gives us more room. You don't have to do this. I'll leave it up to you. Pretty loud truck that is currently offloading, so let's see if I can show you this and if any will show up. You have to see how I've wedged this in that clip. You need to push forward on it and then lift. When you do, it lifts it over the little hook. It frees these two up. If you want, you can try and pull them out of there, but I can almost guarantee you'll break them, just like this one person did when they tried to pull it out themselves. So I will put this one, actually this one's pretty loose too. Not as loose as this one though. So now that we've got that, again, now we can use our popper and pop these ones off the valve cover and then lay them off to the side. The other thing, if you want to, go ahead, grab an 8mm. This actually might be a 10. But go ahead and pull these and then you can slide the coils out. Some people like to label them. I will leave it up to you. I don't bother labeling the coils, but if you want to, just go ahead, put a piece of painter's tape and then label passenger side 1, passenger side 2, passenger side 3, 4, so on and so forth, so you put it in the exact same spot. Once you get those out, just simply pull back, take the coils out and put them somewhere safe. Let's go ahead and show you how to release these. All you do is you go like this and then kind of give them a hand when they're on their way out. But as you lift, they slide out. Again, don't go wrenching on it. Right here, once it gets stuck, I usually like to wiggle. If you have to, go back in a little bit and then help it along, because you do not want to break the locking mechanism in these. All right, now that we've gotten to this point, to get it out of the way, we can use our Christmas tree popper and pop this one out of the way. See if I can go ahead and lighten this up. Yep, this 10mm, take it out. This is a ground. And then right here is this clip. We're gonna go ahead and do exactly what we did with the other ones, but this one, I'll show you in a sec. We have to pull this back. We're gonna release this, so that way, after we get rid of that last connector down here, with the little red tab, see, right there, then we'll be able to completely move this harness off of the valve cover. So for this one down here, just go ahead, and it'll be locked in like that. Just pull it, and again, slowly but surely, this will come forward, and it'll actually, you'll have to snap it back up to be able to pull it out all the way, because even once it's all the way down, there we go, it kind of gets stuck. So now that we've got this, we've literally got, I'd pop this out of the fender well. We just have this guy, and it just pops out just like your injector harnesses did. So we'll pop the safety up right there, sorry. We'll pop the safety up, and then this will all be free. Then we'll work on completely freeing this side up so we can fold it over and around the intake manifold. All right, if we get underneath right behind the wheel, right where the Dodge Ram symbol is, you'll be able to see a few more. So up there is, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get any good shots here, but up there you'll see the knock sensor. You'll squeeze on the left and right side, you'll feel both tabs, compress them and pull it off the knock sensor. Then you'll see one more, which is the crankshaft positioning sensor, and you're going to want to, of course, pull the red on that one and then squeeze the duct tab and release that. Just the two connectors down here, and we should be able to pull that into that engine bay. It'll be a little fun to fish that back through afterwards, but it's a lot easier to get this all out of the way now. So again, let's see if we can get you some light in here. This is the problem. You have to compress both sides and pull out. Let's see if I can show you on the connector. Probably not, because, all right, right there, compress both sides like this and pull out. This one, we slide the little red guy back, compress the tab underneath and slide it out. We'll take a look at that. We can now access all our valve cover bolts, and the valve cover is free. We have this put up here. Again, these hoses, if you wanted to, you could release these ones, but I kind of like that one being there just to be a holding hand. You might want to get it out though for when you pull out the bottom valve cover bolts. One thing to remember, especially for you guys that aren't going to have a torque wrench when doing this, is knowing how light these are torqued. They're 105 inch-pounds. So make sure, if you can, buy an inch-pounds torque wrench for when we're putting this back together. So have a foot-pounds one and an inch-pounds one. Anyways, I'm gonna actually bring this wiring back over here until I get the other side, because we need to get this intake manifold out first. Once the intake manifold's out, we'll be able to maneuver things all over the place. You have a big container. One thing you can do is take this clamp, slide it up, and slide off your lower radiator hose and just let the coolant drain out. I'm guessing if you have a bad head gasket, you're gonna have some pretty nasty coolant. This person ended up having just the start of a head gasket problem. So there was no coolant in the oil yet, but there's a tiny bit of oil in the coolant, but it was like a 10% ratio, meaning most of it still washed right out. We might consider still replacing the radiator, but we'll see as we go through the process. If yours is like this, one thing you can do is after it drains and you have that off, you can actually just run water through here and let it just drain through. Just make sure you're controlling the stream of the coolant. The reason why I say this is because this, of course, is not good for animals and any other things. So you don't want anyone walking by or anything like that's dog to lick it up, or your own. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at this alternator. We're gonna have a couple options here if we're gonna want to remove the alternator, but first things first, slide that back like we did, compress, and let's see. Well, it's gonna be tight. I'm gonna put a problem. Oh, I got it. Perfect. Right there. Now go ahead, take this bolt off, slide the power wire off, and then put the nut back on so you don't lose it. The other thing we can do if we want to is pull the serpentine and quickly pull the alternator out of the way. The reason why, it'll give you much better access when moving the head in and out and so on and so forth. Again, you use your Christmas tree popper, free the wiring harness from the valve cover down over here. This you pinch and then use your Christmas tree popper and it'll slide out, but you really want to use your finger and press this piece in as you do it. It's just the little barb. Once this is out of the way, I would suggest we go ahead and pull the two 13s here and get this metal bracket out of the way, so that way it's not chopping up your arms. This guy, just keep popping all of those little tabs all the way up to here, and then lift this plastic piece and pull out your winter plug, which is in a lot of models. And then that's it for this side, so that way when we go to wrap this around, we can. We might have to pull the intake manifold out of the way first, which is fine. We just want to make sure everything's away from the intake manifold. As you can see, we have full access now to all the screws here. Again, we're going to be gentle with those, but now we're going to go to the other side and make sure we can free up those, and then the first thing of business is popping the intake manifold out. Next thing you should do is grab your panel popper and go up here, and you're going to go and pop off all that wiring harness and go ahead and just like you did to the other side. I'm not going to make you watch how I do this exact same thing. So just pop all the coils off, do this. This is the more fun side. You're probably going to need a ladder, and what you're going to do is climb up and basically into the engine bay, and you're going to free up that wiring harness. Make sure you pull the one off the intake manifold. Once that's free, that goes to your MDS system, by the way, at the back. Make sure you pop that off the intake manifold, so that way when we lift the injectors and everything off, we're just going to put it off to the side, and yeah, then we'll be able to attack the rest. But attack as much as you can the first time that you jump up and into the engine bay. As you can see on the tensioner right there, I have the ratchet directly connected in. There is no socket. You just go ahead, press down on it. You'll see that the alternator just got loose by me squeezing down. Watch the tension. See that? Go ahead and slide the belt off of either the alternator or this idler pulley, and then we'll be able to quickly remove the alternator. There. You'll have to use an extension for this one because it has to work around the pulley here. Go ahead, put the 15 on there, just like so with the extension. Crack that one loose, then you crack this one loose, then pull both bolts out. The alternator probably isn't going to go anywhere after that. Why? Because it has a clamping bolt structure. What you're probably going to need to do is go ahead and grab a pry bar and then slide the pry bar into here and then pry up. Just be mindful of your AC lines. You can also come in from here and reverse pry bar it. Trick, pop out this end first so this end comes up, and then go to the very back and then go side to side, rotating, and see how it's coming up? Perfect. Alternator's free. Pick it up and take it out. Once you've gotten that one tricky bugger that's just around the corner, again, you got to use your Christmas tree popper. It's on a bolt back there. You work it off, slip that down. Now that we've got that all free, let's turn our attention to this bracket. I think our easiest way is we're just going to remove the whole bracket. If you want to, you can, of course, leave it attached, but I think it's in best practice for us to remove it. If you do want to leave it attached, go ahead, take this, that looks like a 13 off right here, and then we're going to release these lines off of here. And again, that requires us to, you can see the two clips right here, how they're separating. We have to kind of slide it sideways and release it, or push in and press down on this. So push this in, press down on here, and that should lift the hook. You can also use a hook pick to assist lifting this. Be very careful as you slide it out. You just don't want to break it. Right, now that we've gone ahead and done that, what we're gonna have to do, again, I ended up removing the whole bracket. Super simple. Just drop the 13 here, that little 13 there. Brackets out of the way, now you don't have to worry about it. Now, go ahead, you're gonna see all these 10s all the way along here on both sides. Go ahead and take and loosen them out. Just be careful and definitely make sure that your ratchet is on pulling it out, because it's not a lot of torque to put this back in later. And if you go ahead and go and crank it in like that guy is with the impact behind me, well, you're gonna go and crack this. Pull them out, you should be able to do this. From here, we're gonna lift it out. I'm not gonna do this with a camera in my hand, but there might be a connector on the back. I will see. If there is, I will tell you. If you can see it, but right here is another connector, but it's at the very back. So you will not be able to get it until you pull this forward. So pull it forward like so it's on an angle, then go ahead and disconnect that connector. Just be mindful, you need to reconnect that connector before or as you're sliding it in. If you're wondering what all that is under there, that is your MDF stuff. And as you can see, this one's not too bad, but it still looks like a rat might have gotten in here. If you're doing MDS delete, I do have a video on this. I'm not going to show it obviously in this one because this person would like to keep their MDS active. So I will leave it active. Anyways, I'm going to suck this all out with a vacuum. As you can see, look at all this junk too here. I already tried to get in here with a vacuum. I couldn't. When we pop these heads out, we're just going to have to thoroughly clean them. And fortunately, it's one of the natures of the beast. There's just so much stuff going on in here, and then afterwards, like I said, we'll have to be very mindful of making sure these are clean when we're done. And we'll be looking into the cylinder down below to make sure no foreign matter made it into the cylinder. From here, we could remove the exhaust manifold bolts, but why? I wouldn't do that until it's out, and I would replace the exhaust manifold bolts. If you are one of the lucky ones and you have no broken bolts, replace them, because chances are they will break the moment you put them in or put these heads back in. I would suggest pulling the exhaust manifold bolts out and then replacing them with the ARP ones. I will show you those later on in the video. But for right now, if you look at where the manifold meets the cat, there'll be just two flange bolts. Go ahead and remove those two bolts for now and leave the little shorties attached to the heads. They'll come out just fine attached to the heads. Again, just from underneath, there they are. That's where they meet up. Just pull out those two bolts. If those are still good, use them, but chances are you're gonna have to replace them, and unfortunately they're not cheap. Chances are they're already rusted out and broken, but if they do break on you, which they 99% chance will, these are the nuts on the other side of that exhaust piece. Just grab it with a pair of vice grips like so, and then you can use your ratchet on the other side, and it's a 14 mil bolt. All right, now that we've gone ahead and done that down below with the exhaust, I ended up doing both sides at once just because it makes it so much easier. If you want, go ahead and just take out all the valve cover bolts. If you take it out, then the valve cover is just gonna pop off towards us. Got it off, but sometimes you need to love tap just the side of it with a rubber mallet. Do not use metal. You will break that plastic valve cover. And again, just love tap all the way around. From there, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pull out the rocker assembly. You simply just need to loosen all of these bolts. Start from here. You can loosen like this. Just half loosen, half loosen, half loosen, half loosen, half loosen, because some of these springs, of course, might be under tension, which is fine. But again, just make sure that you loosen all these bolts off and put the assembly somewhere safe. The eye, now you know which is your intake. Take the intake passenger side, put it up and over here. Now you know that what I like to do is put it up here, because this means that it's the top. Now we'll put the exhaust side right below it, and then when we pull out our push rods, you'll put the push rods for the intake here, push rods for the exhaust side here. Once you've pulled out the intake push rods and the exhaust side push rods, you can tell because the intake ones are shorter than the exhaust side, we will go ahead and we will pull out our head bolts, which are including these guys up top. Now, some will get angry at me for saying this, but you could just take out all 5 top 10s first if you wanted to. That's what I usually do, but people will tell you make sure you do inside to outside. So what that would mean is take out the 10 here, the 10 here, and then take out these 2 head bolts and then move your way inward. Then you would do this side, and then your center row. So again, outside, sorry, to inside. When it's installed, it goes inside to outside. Once all the bolts are out, it's time to wiggle the head free. Keep in mind, this thing is heavy. Almost as heavy as those bolts you just pulled out for torque spec. What I like to do, and what I'm sure you're gonna watch multiple videos, one might be even my other one where I built one of these on the engine stand, is leave 2 bolts in, so that way when it cracks loose, it kind of has 2 bolts to catch on. They can be loose and all the way out, just make sure that they are loose enough, okay? Pick it up by the exhaust manifold there, and then after you go ahead and do that, it should come right out. Again, it is quite heavy. Make sure you have a ladder or something, so that way it takes some tension off your back. Once you get that out, lift it straight out and put it over here. Again, from here we're gonna be cleaning up the surfaces for the new head gasket, but we also need to thoroughly clean up these heads. As you can even see, there's lots of schmutz and stuff in here. You definitely have to spend the time and you have to blast out, whether it's with brake clean and whatnot. If yours overheated, I would highly suggest you send your heads to a machine shop. That way they can check and make sure that they are still fine and they're not warped. If they're warped, then you need new heads, or they can try and deck them, I guess. But at the same time, like I said, you'll definitely want to, if your vehicle overheated, double check that, because if you put a new head gaskets and all of a sudden it's, yeah, the heads, it's going to be a big waste of money. In this case, I picked up a couple of these bolts and I was taking a look at them, and I don't know how this one is, but I seen a couple of these actually had teeth missing. Since there is a couple of these with damaged teeth, I definitely don't want to reuse these head bolts. So it's always best practice to switch them, but if you're running on a super tight budget and you're going to be like, well, I'm just going to keep these ones, please, if you see any damage on the threads, don't even make it an option. If you have pristine threads, I'd still replace them, but if you want, put them back in. Again, these are they kind of stretch with the head, so you just don't want to have that any bad threads and then it to strip the block, because then you are in really, really bad shape. All right, so what we've done now is the harness is basically all disconnected except for the transmission and O2 sensor side. Right here, what you're going to want to do is move this harness over so it's sitting like this on this side of the timing cover and over here. See how it keeps this all nice and clear from the head? You might have to just be careful of these connectors if you really wanted to. Take some painter's tape and tape them up and over here so they're away from the head when you lift it out and bring it in. You just don't want to pinch one in there. That's the biggest thing. After you do that, we can start taking the valve cover off. And then as we go down each step, we'll take off a little more and a little more. Just so I don't forget, and there's no way that harness will move over there if it's connected. See that connector at the very end? Make sure you disconnect that one. There's one on the end of each cylinder. And then of course, as long as you've disconnected the flex fuel as well, or at least the fuel reading spot right there. Going to have to get on top of the motor for this one unless you want to go underneath and get them, but got the valve cover off with everything I've shown you this far. I'm skipping steps now because you've seen me do it there. It's the same spot here. There's just that really tricky one in the corner where you just have to have patience and you'll get it out. From here, just like the other side, pull out your intake rocker and your exhaust rocker. After you get the rocker assembly out on both of them and pull out all your push rods, there's three things different than the other head. One, see this? This is a 13mm bolt just under this wiring harness. Make sure you pull it out. You can see there's this little piece here. If you don't, then your head's not going to come out because this goes directly into the head. Above that is this grounding strap. You can just pull this 13 off if you want to leave that one on. I would suggest pulling both off because you're going to need it off to clean this properly around your intake valve. So just go ahead and pull the 13 off here, 13 off here. You can leave it lightly threaded in if you don't want to lose it, but I would just tape them tape the bottom end of the threads after you pull this out and keep it with your pile of parts. After you've gone ahead and done that and that one, the last is your oil dipstick tube. Your oil dipstick tube, if you follow that metal piece right here, it goes to one of your exhaust bolts on the manifold. Pull that bolt out. Hopefully it doesn't break on you, but yeah, you need that bolt out so you can lift this out of the way. We should be able to move this head without removing the dipstick. It is quite flexible, so just be careful when you're pulling it out that you don't completely mess it up. Again, we're wanting to be careful of these connectors when we pull the head up and off. Take the bolts out exactly like we did before, just outside to inside. Pull the dipstick out of the tube so you don't break it. Now, as you can see, we pulled that one manifold bolt out. This now moves. Now we can go ahead and take out all of our head bolts. Again, start from the inside and then work your way, or start from the outside and work your way to the inside. Lifting this head off is going to be a little bit more troublesome than the other, but it's still doable. Just be careful. If you have a second set of hands, get them underneath, although they're going to get a coolant shower. From this point, it's the long and treacherous part of sitting here with an X-Acto and just cleaning off all the old junk like so, making sure you're going nice and smooth and with the groove. You do not want to score this, as this is machined to spec. So make sure you keep it flat. And again, we'll clean everything up. For best practice though, what you can do is you can send these out to a machinist to double check that they are still flat and still to precision. That's the best way. Some machinists will just deck them, and that'll make sure that you're working with a nice flat surface. And for the best bet, you would have to do it to the block. But in this case, yeah. As you can see, we're making some progress. How you know if you've gotten enough of it off? Try and catch it with your nail. If it doesn't catch your nail, you're doing really darn good. Again, we're going to go over this with an emery cloth after, but see right here? Like I'm catching this with my nail. I know that's not enough. Same with this part, and I definitely would catch my nail here. With the combustion chamber area, as you can see, especially up near the valves, when you're coming down and you're taking this, look at this. See how it also cleans this way? Let's see if I can back this up a bit. Just like that. When it comes to these openings, again, we're gonna have to suck these out with a vacuum and try and get in there with brake clean later. But what your goal is to try on openings like this, try and go across like that, because you don't want to catch the edge and start removing material. As you can see, it makes a world of difference. The only thing better than doing this is, of course, taking it and dropping it off at a machine shop. They hot dip it and they can clean up everything, and then they can deck it and make sure it's good. Now, one question might be, why would you send the heads but not the block? Well, the block is steel. It's a little bit more rigid and it's not as malleable, unlike these aluminum heads. If anything's going to fail, it'll usually be the aluminum heads before the steel block on this motor's case. So again, if you wanted to, and if you did overheat, you might want to get both surfaces checked, but you could at least get if your engine overheated 100%, your head should be going to get machined and double checked over. In this case, this engine was not overheating, so since it did not go past a certain temperature, and of course for a certain amount of time, I feel completely confident in cleaning up the gasket material and putting it on. From here, I've gone ahead and I've cleaned up both heads. Now you can buy special die grinder polishing pads. You really don't want them to be a very abrasive pad, because you will remove the aluminum very easily. So make sure if you pick one up, grab one of the die grinder bits that are specifically made for going around and cleaning up old head gasket. But I've gone through this, and then what I did is I grabbed a brand new razor blade, went all the way around and made sure it did not catch on anything. Once you've been able to go ahead and do so, that should be more than enough. And again, if you're questioning it and you have fingernails, go ahead and take a glove off and feel it with a fingernail. You should not be able to catch anything of the sorts on your fingernail. The other thing you can do if you want to clean up this area in here, if you wanted to, you could pull out the spark plugs. I leave them in there because if I'm going to switch out my spark plugs, I will do it afterwards. And I'd rather not get any of the junk inside the threads of the spark plug, because it is an aluminum head and you can very easily wreck the threads if you go to tie in a spark plug and it gets caught on the grime and stuff within the threads. That's why you haven't seen me pull them out, if you're wondering. So from this point, I'm going to probably get one of those polishing pads. Just go ahead and do this, and then it's time to hop inside the engine bay and do it to the block side. Gonna be hard to see that number, but there you go. That's the part number upside down. This is an entire head gasket kit. I believe it's a Felpro. And again, that's our two exhaust gaskets. Valve cover gaskets are under here, these big guys. Head gaskets are at the very bottom. Valve seals, we're gonna do those for sure, because you're not going to want to pull the heads off later to do your valve seals. Again, this should be for our valve covers as well. These are for your intake manifold. This right here should be intake. That should be your throttle body, I believe, and a couple other miscellaneous ones. We have a couple O-rings on here. I'm guessing those are for different sensors, in case you pop sensors out. And then again, I believe these, I have to remember what. Either way, we will use those as well. These again are for the valve covers, I believe. I will tell you, I think that's what those ones are for. This might be for the water pump. I'll double check. And again, thermostat housing, unless yours has the rubber around it, then you'd use that. But either way, and then underneath is, like I said, the head gaskets. We'll leave those nice and protected. We don't want any foreign matter on those. All right, guys. So, valve spring compression tool. We're going to do the valve stem seals. Might as well do them while you're in here, otherwise they will leak. All you do is you bring this up and around like so, and just cinch it up. Don't tighten it too much yet. What you want to do is just get this started. It goes on an angle because so is the valve. Once you get it started, go underneath. Make sure it's seated very nicely on the valve. You do not want it fitting or sitting on the edge of the valve. This is very important. Once you've confirmed it is sitting as central as you can on that valve, go ahead and start to tighten it up. Like so. As you tighten it, you're gonna go ahead and it'll get to this point. Take a magnet. There are some keepers that hold it. Notice they're shaped conical and they wedge, meaning the smaller part goes down, thicker part up, so that way when you release the spring, it wedges. Anyways, pull these both out. I'm only mentioning that so when you go to put these back in, you know which way they go. Now go ahead, slowly loosen this. As you loosen it, it just goes like this, and we just want to be careful when we loosen it all the way that you do not let the valve drop. So we just go like this, and then put your hand down here to grab the valve. This is important. You do not want the valve to drop out the bottom and hit the ground. So pop it off here. Now, I like to slide the valve out. When you bring this valve out though, try to keep it in the same orientation as this and off to the side. Some will say don't remove the valve. I will leave that up to you. It's best not to remove the valve, but I don't want any chance of damaging that edge. From here, go ahead, grab right here, and just wiggle. As you wiggle, all it is as you're wiggling, it'll start to come. Just little wiggles. You just don't want to be, see how I have my finger here? You don't want it squeezing up and marring up the edges down below. Again, these can hold on quite a bit. Come on, let go. Geez, this one's gonna be the fun one of today. Anyways. There we go. Old valve seal off. Now, or I should say stem seal, because it doesn't seal the valve. Your new one, like so. We're gonna slide this on. It's best to actually dip this in oil if possible, but you're gonna take it right here and squish it back on. You should, it's almost like a click. You'll feel it. That suction just kind of releases, it seats nicely, and that's it. Now that that's sitting there, we grab our valve in the same orientation we pulled it out. You can look inside the hole, slide it up, on, slide this through, and then once again take our valve seal tool, or I should say spring compression tool, and start to tighten. You don't want to put any pressure on until we make sure the valve, it's seated on the valve. You can actually feel it with your fingers. Go ahead, start to tighten it. Make sure the shaft is coming out through the opening and you're not going to bonk the shaft or put any pressure on it, or the stem as I should say, because you don't want to put too much pressure and have risk of bending it. Go ahead, we're tightening. There, all three ribs are exposed. We want to grab our keepers. Some people use assembly lube to put them back on. I usually will just try and put them on with my fingers. All right, it just goes on like that. You can kind of spin it too, so that way it's a little nicer to put in. And then here, see if I can do this. These little, some people say, oh, I install mine with magnets. Well, go ahead. I have never had luck trying to put them back in with magnets. Okay, now that we have that, and I want this one to sit, come on. There we go. Let's just back this up just a little bit, make sure it sits. Okay. Yep. There we go. They have to sit in those little grooves. Very important. There we go. Now, slowly releasing spring pressure. We make sure it stays in those grooves. There you go. And that is how you do the stem seals. Do that with both heads, all 8 on each side, so you do have 16 in total. If you want to, you can put a piece of painter's tape on each one you do. That way you know it's done. For these valve covers, you're gonna want to pull out this gasket. As you can see, this one's actually in some pretty gnarly shape. We'll go ahead and pull that out. You'll also take out these ones. Wow, these are crusty. So make sure you pop all of these out, including the one. I must have already grabbed this one out of here. No, it's still here. It's just baked in. Just do that. And again, pull out all the figure 8s here. Just like that. I'll show you what else you need to do. See these screws? If you press on them, they pop up. You need to replace these little gaskets which came in that kit. So go ahead. I would just pop all of these out. Then we can completely clean these covers. Clean them in a sink or outside, whatever you want to do. But just clean them up nice and shiny like. Once you've gone ahead and blasted them, as you can see, clean these up nicely. Now I'm going to go shoot them with some compressed air to get the water out and any final possible debris. Right here, if you bend this, you have to bend it off the metal. First do that. As you can see, the rubber is now separated from the metal. From there, now you pull it over the edge like that. Take all of these off first and then I would replace them. So these are our new seals. If you want, throw them in a little bit of oil or just pull them over like so. Once you pull them over, you can go ahead if you want to and just sink them into the valve cover. Way easier than when you put them in before. Like I said, just pull over, sink in. You didn't even do them all first and then sink them into the valve cover. Doesn't matter. Just make sure, I already did, make sure you clean the screws. They're gonna have gunk from before. But yeah, that's all you want to do. Pop them all in. Thing to do, open up your figure 8s and you're just gonna grab them and work them in. Just goes just like that. It's always good to do the center points first. Don't try to just start on one angle, because what will end up happening is as you squeeze them in, it'll actually lengthen the gasket, which you'll see when we do our valve cover gaskets. You'll be like this edge gasket right here. You'll see in 1 second, but just go ahead and sink these in. By the way, just so you know, there's that little dip in here. You'll see these little grippers. One will be a smooth finish. The other side will have these little grips. The good little grips are what go down. I thought it was self-explanatory. I just don't want anyone to get confused. These longer gaskets like this, always start in the corners. Sink your corners in first. The reason why, if you start at one edge and then go all your way around, it actually will be too long of a gasket. And you'll be like, why? What have I done wrong? And it'll be that you didn't sink your corners in. So sink all your corners in first, always with gaskets like so. And then just simply sink in the center edges like this. They fit a little. Either way, just go ahead, do that. And then after you finish that, put this off to the side. You've now re-gasketed your valve covers and you just want to put them off to the side in a clean area while you get the rest of it ready. All right, making sure the fuel is aiming up. Let's go ahead and pull out these old seals here. Don't forget these guys. Right there. Now, I'll leave it up to you. If you want to, you can undo the fuel rails and redo your the O-rings on your injectors. but I'm probably not going to do that because there's no leak at this point, and it's super easy if there is a leak to replace those seals since I didn't remove them. If you removed your injector, your fuel, so undid it and took it off the intake manifold, make sure you replace those O-rings with the dedicated O-ring. You'll see which one it is. So yeah, anyways, what we're gonna do is pull these guys just like that. There we go. These guys are old and crusty. Holy smokes. I don't think they've ever been replaced. So let's go ahead here, pop these guys out. Pretty easy. Just, again, corners. Always do the corners first, because if you don't, then it'll be too long. There you go. Just like that. Go ahead and do that, and then I have to grab those little oval or rectangular kind of benty ones for right here. Just make sure you replace those ones as well. At least they make all the new ones from Felpro glue, so it's easy to tell if you switched out your gaskets. Also, when you're using your compressed air, I usually don't blast the bottom. But if you do, make sure you have a really good vacuum going at the same time. You don't want anything going in here. Now what you can also do if you want to, which I'll probably do on this one, is quickly pop the throttle body off and change the throttle body gasket. Although I didn't remove the throttle body, it doesn't really need to be done, but I don't know, throttle body to me is always a nice one to do because it's, again, another one you don't want to leak. Fuel, you can see if it leaks or smell if it leaks. If it's going to be your throttle body, you won't. It's just, it'll leak dust and stuff into there. It'll be this guy right here. Again, this will only probably be in, it might be in a separate package because it might only pertain to the RAM. Because the car 5.7 is a little bit different of an intake manifold. I don't know if it has these exact same seals. It probably does. Anyways, and then the rest of these are probably for evap stuff all the way around. So if you want to change all your evap gaskets, you can go ahead and do so. For now though, I think that's all the gaskets I'm going to change. If you do decide to change that throttle body gasket, I would highly suggest you get some throttle body cleaner and give that thing a good scrub. Alright, I've gone around the entire edge with about 150 grit sandpaper or emery cloth just to make sure that we've got no extra on there. I can't catch a nail with anything, and on top of that I've also gone ahead and blown out the entire cylinder here with compressed air just to make sure that we get some fluid. You'll see if you shoot with a compressor, it's going to blow some fluid out. I also ran a vacuum through it with high suction just to make sure, and then ran both at the same time. So we're about as clean as we're going to get it. From this point, you can go ahead, throw an 8mm socket on, and go ahead and tighten these lifter buckets down if you haven't done so yet to about 105 inch-pounds. Next thing I'm going to quickly do is compress this clamp, slide it up, slide this off, pull these two bolts out. The reason why, I'm going to quickly pull out the thermostat. I want to see the condition of the fluid underneath. If it's orange and I can see into the water pump and it's fine, I'm actually just going to not replace the water pump because this water pump's working fine. But if yours is really old and you suspect it could be failing, I highly suggest you replace it at this time. But for right now, like I said, at least change your thermostat. Go ahead, take your channel locks or whatever you want, give it a, you're gonna have to try and basically pull it out. It'll be in there good. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now that that's out, we're gonna pull out the old gasket and prime the, or just prep it, like clean it up with a little bit of emery cloth again, suck it out with a vacuum, and then when you go to put those bolts back in, just put them to about 120 inch-pounds. Next thing to do is lay out your head gaskets, and let's quickly go over them. You need to make sure all the passages line up. Pretty easy with this one. This is facing up. Right is your passenger side, left is your driver's side. It goes from when you're in the driver's seat, not from when you're looking into the engine bay. It's really important to note, because you don't want to put them on backwards. Again, put it so the label like this is saying up unless the gasket itself says up on one side of it. And then from there, once you've got your upside and you know this one goes on the right, like I said, just make sure every passage lines up. If anything is plugged, then it's not going to work, and you'll end up getting a lot of fluid leaking. At this point, I've gone ahead also and I've thrown a little bit of assembly lube on all of the rockers and also the push rods. You can do so as well. It's a really good thing to get. It looks like that. Just Lucas Oil makes some. A lot of them make different ones. If you don't have any, but you have some oil, put an oil in the bucket and then just soak everything with oil. After you've wiped it down, of course, and make sure it's clean oil. Anyways, if you're wondering about the new head bolts, I went with Velcro ones, and they are the ES72200 kit. You have to buy 2 of them because it's 1 per head. But comes with all brand new head bolts, and of course, yeah, that's it. The other thing I did is went on Amazon and I seen these for the exhaust manifold because I don't want to reuse those other ones. So yeah, other than that, we've got everything we need now for bolting it up. I already put the first head on the motor. It was as simple as, like I said, make sure the passages line up, lifted the head on, be gentle with it. You want to lift it, hover it over, and simply just slide it right on. Now that we've gone ahead and we've done that, and it's now sitting in the engine bay, I'll show you basically what you need to do. If you have bolts, when you lift the head on, just hand thread in, by hand only, all your new head bolts for the one side. Don't put any torque on them whatsoever. Just thread them in. Over what you're gonna do. You're gonna set your torque wrench at first to 25 foot-pounds. And then with all these bigger bolts, you're gonna do 25 for the first pass. Now, it's gonna go in this sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After you've done that, dial your torque wrench back, switch your bit. You're gonna be doing 15 foot-pounds on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After you've done that, switch it back to the other bit. We're going to be going back through them. We're going to be doing 40 foot-pounds, again, starting in the same sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do not touch the top row on this one. And then lastly, the very last pass, you're going to need either an angle measurement piece for the wrench that you're using, your torque wrench, or you're going to need a torque wrench that can do angle. And again, you're going to do the final pass, same sequence that I've already showed you, but you're going to do a 90-degree turn on each bolt. And that way, that's the finishing bolt. After you've done a 90-degree on all the bottom bolts, the top bolts right here finish off at 25 foot-pounds on all the top bolts. Again, starting from that end and there, and you are done. All right, it's time to put in our push rods. So grab 8 of the push rods, go ahead and put the 4 small ones up top, that's your intake, and 4 exhaust ones, of course, at the bottom. And that way it's gonna push the correct lifter. I mean, you can't really mess it up because as long as you grab the intake rocker assembly, it will only fit over the intake push rods. This is very important. Just get like 3 threads in on all of them and then make sure they line up with the valve. But see how I know that this is right in the pocket? You need to feel the push rod, make sure it's in the pocket. If it slips out of this pocket, your engine will not run right for obvious reasons. It won't push the valve. The cam will push up, push the push rod, and simply it won't push the valve open, which means it's going to misfire. So again, make sure that you double check as you tighten this down that these do not slip out of the pocket. If you get a misfire code when you first start, the first thing you should do is pop off your valve covers and make sure one of your push rods have not slipped. These bolts just start once again from the inside. Do inside to outside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter which way, as long as you're jumping back and forth. And again, 195 inch-pounds. Just go ahead and verify every single one of the pockets to make sure that the push rods are in them. They should not be sitting on the edge. Once you feel them, you should know if it's slipped out. Like, you can feel the difference between the rod being in the pocket and not. So anyways, after you've gone ahead and done that, you can if you want to, use a vacuum one last time or blast out here, because we're gonna seal this puppy up. From this point, put the valve cover on, start in the center, just like we did with the head bolts. You can even follow the same pattern if you want to, at 105 inch-pounds. I would first just get the thread started all around the valve cover and then seal it up at 105 inch-pounds per bolt. Again, inside to outside. So next thing is, it's pretty easy to see which way these ones went because they'll only fit in one direction and they sit somewhat like this. So line them up. That's all you have to do, and slowly, you shouldn't have to put much pressure, but slowly, see, you bring it down and you just want it to fully seat on that plug like so. Make sure it relatches. Do it the same over here. Don't bring any of this stuff up yet. Instead, make sure you connect this connector back in, the little gray latched one. Again, you just sink it in and slowly latch the connector till it locks in. Then it won't back out. Then up here, make sure you bring that ground back up, put the ground screw back in, and then that one, you could even do to 13 foot-pounds if you want. Don't go ham with them. They're just rib nutted, so you don't want to strip them out. When you do that, you might as well come over here and do this ground as well. Technically, that one should be able to at least go to 15 foot-pounds. So put the ground strap back in there and then put that bolt back in through the front of the timing cover. Now that front timing cover bolt, you could put anywhere between 15 and 19 foot-pounds. This one I ended up doing 15 foot-pounds on that. Again, it's a ground, it's not structural. For these ones, all the big 13s, I've done 19 foot-pounds. So 1, 2, and then the one long bolt that goes in and screws into the head. Leave that one last ground screw here until we move things around. From this point, what I'm going to suggest doing is, if you're switching your spark plugs, do it now. Pretty easy. Grab your spark plug socket, slide it in, and we're going to just take out one plug at a time. Or if you want to, pull them all out at once, whatever you prefer. I like to do them usually one at a time. This is one part number you can use, the 5018. Again, you need 16 spark plugs for a Hemi. What you can also do is you're going to take this, open them up, and put a tiny bit of dielectric grease just on this part of the plug. Then go ahead and just hand thread them in. When we torque them down, go between 15 and 19 foot-pounds. Very back plug, see this notch in here? You have to kind of bring up the socket so it comes up into that notch, and then you can get it out. You won't get it with a ratchet attached, so make sure you have just your extension. And again, all I did is I released that plastic clip and released the two heater hoses. And to release that clip is just like you did down here. It's literally the same thing. You just lift the little ear and open it up. It's super simple. For the coil packs, just cinch the screws down. I usually do them by hand, but if you need a torque, I'd probably do 60 inch-pounds. Don't go too ham on these. You don't want to strip the plastic, because all it is a threaded insert in the plastic. And if you go like even 80 to 100 inch-pounds, it's going to strip it out. For all the driver's side plugs, just use a swivel and like a 3-inch is what I think that is. Yes, 3-inch extension. By doing so, you should be able to loosen and take them all out and get around the brake booster and so on and so forth. So once you've done that, just go ahead and put the coils on. We decided not to do the exhaust gaskets yet, and the reason why is the client's actually looking to possibly do an exhaust, from what I'm hearing later. And if they do, at least now they have brand new gaskets and then they can get their new ARP hardware and their new headers to put them on. And the manifold, from what I could tell, I went through, the bolts didn't look broken, but again, that's just a luck thing. I always suggest when doing the head gasket and you have the heads already out. I mean, it's a good time for a header swap too if you want to do headers. JBA makes a good set. I put them on my Jeep. If you do decide to, I think it's 18 foot-pounds if I remember correctly on all these bolts. You start again inside to outside, just like your heads, just like your valve covers. All right, so from this point, make sure you plug your MBS plug back in, plug that sensor back in, and then make sure these two are sitting right here. As we know, these two go on the back of the manifold. These are all coils. Don't start sinking this stuff in. We want as much room in here to make sure we don't pinch any connectors. So now that we have that, we have these two here, that's plugged in back in. Make sure all these behind connectors are plugged in. You can also sink that piece back onto the bolt hole back there because it'll kind of pull the harness over there. Once you've done that, and we're looking pretty good here, we can bring the intake manifold in and plug these in. If you want to, you can do one last vacuuming in here, up in here, whatever you want to do. Just quickly throw a high-powered vacuum on each of these. And again, that should be it. Easy for tightening this down. Just take a hand tool and just put them just so they're kissing the intake manifold. You want to make sure they all are threaded in nicely. You don't want to strip your heads. After you've just made it so it just rests, then you're going to go to the center, just like your heads. And you're going to go 1, 2, right in the center. Go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pretty easy. Like I said, inside, outside. Pretty much what this entire vehicle is, inside, outside. From there, go ahead, plug in your injectors and your coils. By doing so, to help you when you start routing your wiring. Just went plugging away and just make sure you go back through. Of course, this is for our alternator. The coils line up with each other. You can't mess them up. Don't forget to plug back in your fuel sensor. I'm leaving the fuel to the very end. I will do that. Make sure you remind yourself to do that. I worked my way back from here, got this all plugged in. And again, just don't forget to, if you want to, resync your loops in. You can see the water pump one I put on here for the heater core hoses. And the only one I've left loose is this one until I see how it navigates through the mounting bracket. Next, I slid this hose on. I'm about to grab my clamps. I'm going to quickly squeeze it and put it on so the radiator's all sealed up again. I then ran and re-put the different various ones here for the block heater and tucked it back in there. And yeah, so that's the block heater one. This is all plugged in here. Like I said, now to go underneath, fish that one back through so I can plug it in down there for the sensors that were down there, crankshaft positioning and so on forth. I just climbed underneath. Again, you'll see that path. If you have to rewind the video, take a look. You'll see which way the wiring went through between the engine mount and the engine itself. Next thing I'm going to do is go take two of these and go start bolting the two flanges back together on the exhaust. When we do that, you might wonder, well, what the heck's the spring for? It actually keeps tension on the flange for when it heats up and cools down, so it expands and contracts. Anyways, from there, go ahead, put a bucket underneath after you've finished bolting both manifolds up, because that means you're done underneath the vehicle. You've gone ahead and you've hooked up both flanges. It's time to drain the oil. You will have coolant and oil come out from pulling the heads off. That's why we did not drain the oil yet. We wanted to wait to the very end after this whole thing's done. Now we'll pull the oil plug and it'll let all the coolant and all the oil out at the same time. That made it itself into the oil pan. Remember to put the bracket back in. It's just the bolt and that little side nut. Again, just tight on those. There's no real torque spec for them. If there is, I don't know it, and I've never used it. So again, just tight and tight. Once you have that, you now have your holder here. And from here, oh, I've just started putting the hoses here. I wouldn't do that. I would actually now connect the last bit of your electrical connectors and make sure everything is plugged in at this point. Again, go through, do your final check, make sure absolutely everything has been connected except for this one and this one. And of course, the alternator wiring, which we'll do in 1 second. But first, as you can see, you have that one hose that comes off here and it just simply goes on there. So this will just go onto here and that plug just simply plugs in like so. Sink the red on after you slip that in, and then this one just goes down there right under the brake booster. You'll see that little hose, you have to slide it on there, you'll be fine. And then it's just that little guy right here that goes up and onto here, and then we just have the one right here by the throttle body on the far side, and the big tube that goes right here and goes to, again, your intake. So the only thing that should be left unplugged right now is your alternator and that one last connector, which is right here, that goes to the intake pipe. Slip this one down, and then don't forget that one that goes from the brake booster, just comes up and goes to that back one. After that, all your tube plumbing is done other than when we put the intake on. So let's go ahead and let's bolt this alternator back up, so that way we can start to morph these AC lines back to where they should be in this. You don't really want to do that until you have the alternator completely in its spot. Alternator, slip it down. As you're slipping it down, plug in the connector, slip the eyelet on. We're just loosely put the screw on until after you get these all lined up. After you get them both lined up, 40 foot-pounds, some will do 45. I usually go to about 40 and that's safe. Anyways, and then for the bolt on the back, basically use your ratchet and just don't over crank it. It's just a threaded stud. So again, all you do is tighten it up nice and tight. Whatever you do, do not use Loctite, as this is once again a conductive post. You don't want an insulator to be in between the nut and that. Serpentine's pretty easy. Imagine a massive 90-degree. It goes all the way down to the AC, around the edge of the AC, all the way over to the crank, up the crank, and then the back side of the belt goes around the tensioner, and after the tensioner goes over the water pump. There's a full 180 around the water pump, right up to the idler, and then up and 180 over the alt. I will also put a video in the description of how to do this, but it'll be a video of mine that I did it when the engine was out of the vehicle. From this point, if you haven't, your dipstick tube bolt that was on your header manifold, make sure you put that nut back on, holding that in place. After you've done that, it's time to put the AC lines in place, and we can actually start putting the last of the intake manifold back together. Pretty easy, just lift it up, sink it back down, so that way it slides right back over the grommets on all 4 spots. From there, we're gonna go ahead, get our filter in. If you haven't changed your filter in a while, make sure you put a new one in. You can also, from this point, if you turn this breather away, go ahead and take some compressed air and blast this all out if you want to clean it. The orientation of this. If you're going to spray compressed air at your filter, if there's a minor bit of dirt or something on it, make sure you do it so you blow air in this side, so that way it pushes the material out the other side. If this side of the filter is dirty, do not use it. This side of the filter, your engine will actually inhale it, and then, well, you did all this work for nothing. All right, so looking at our vehicle here, you will see there's the coolant reservoir. If you have a fluid extractor, and if you pull this out, and this is our dipstick, as you can see, this one isn't sludgy, it's just wet. That's actually like burnt pieces, as I would say, in it. If you're worried about the fluid that's in there though, what you'll want to do is get a fluid extractor. You can get one that's done with your grill. You can get one that's done with a little red hose. You'd shove it in there, put the other side in a bucket and pump it, and it'll simply suck out all the fluid. If you are worried about the fluid that's in there, I do recommend it if you are worried about the fluid that's in there. If it's sludgy or anything like that, if you think your bottle's too far gone, well, then you're gonna have to pop this cover off. Underneath here, you'll see 4 10s. You'll have to pop those out, pop your grill off, and you'd have to replace the bottle, or at least pop it out and you can shoot it out with a garden hose. I'm gonna show you how to pull the filter off. Do that, it's really simple. If you know the location, it's just right over here. You do want to probably have one of our wrenches there. As you can see, it's right in there. You can see it above the sway bar, so you have to stick your hand above there, unscrew it, screw the new one back in, and make sure you don't double gasket. That's the biggest thing. Just screw that in on by hand. I'll show you the wrench that reaches that best. And again, yeah, it's such a bad spot. It just makes such a mess. And plug back in if you need a torque spec, like 15 foot-pounds on the drain plug. Once you've tightened that up, put your new filter on by hand. Made sure that there is not 2 gaskets, because the old filter came off with the gasket and the new one went on with a gasket. Then we can go ahead and fill this thing with about 7 liters of oil, or sorry, 6.6 liters of oil. But what I would do is I'd put in about 5.5 to 6, see where it is on your dipstick, and then after we do our initial startup, top it up accordingly till it's between the min and full, or at least 3/4. Just make sure you don't overfill. Overfilling does more damage. You've put 6 liters of oil into it. I took a look at the dipstick. It shows slightly up there, but the thing is, as soon as we start it, it's gonna eat probably at least a half a quart. From there, go ahead, put your battery back in, and then put your terminals on each. If you want positive first, negative last. From here, we've got 2 things of Prestone 50/50, and one of them we're actually gonna have to split up depending on how much it takes. It says it takes about 20 liters or just under, so that's why we've bought in so much Prestone. So from this point, just go ahead and start filling up your radiator. Once it gets too full and you've been burping it and getting all the fluid in, if you start having any fluid leak out of the back, chances are you put your head gaskets on backwards. If you don't have any start pouring out, you can thank yourself. If it sounds like that when you're done, you're doing good. What I'm gonna actually do is post a thing on here. The other night when I started the truck, one of the push rods weren't sitting correctly. So I can show you what the sound was. It literally will sound like, and probably scare you, because it'll sound like a throwing rod. Luckily, I took the valve covers off again and spotted what I'd actually done is there's 2 holes, and the push rod was going up and not through the milled out part where it should be going. Corrected, truck started right up. So anyways, thanks again for watching. Like if it helped you out. What I'm going to do is, again, post just a small clip of that engine noise. Turn it off. One thing that I forgot to mention, if you see a bunch of smoke when you start it up, don't worry. You got oils and coolant and stuff over everything when you pulled those heads off. A lot of people freak out. I always forget to warn them. It can be a big cloud of smoke. It'll smell absolutely horrible, and they'll think, oh my gosh, my engine is having a meltdown. No, if it's purring like a kitten like this, and all of a sudden you see smoke, don't worry, let all the residues and the oil burn off.